My brother saw a ghost as a kid. 2 decades later, I realized what he actually saw. I was about 7 years old and my brother was about 10. It was well past our bedtime when our mom woke up off the couch to put us to bed. Our dad worked in construction out of town back then, so it was often just the 3 of us in the house for weeks at a time. Up the stairs and to the immediate right was our parents' bedroom. Going left put you in the middle end of the hallway. Taking another left down that hallway led to my brother's room. The opposite end was my room, which was also across the hall from the upstairs bathroom. At either end of the hallway are window doors that we always kept locked and rarely used. The door on my end led to a balcony overlooking our front yard, and the door to my brother's end opened up to the back porch. The house kinda leads into a small hill. So my brother and mom both had a habit of waking up in the middle of the night to use the bathroom. I only knew this because I was a light sleeper and they just couldn't help flushing with the door wide open. This night, however, my brother stopped on his way to his room and came back towards the bathroom. "I'm gonna try and pee before I go to bed," he said. "The past few nights I've been too afraid to walk up the bathroom. I keep seeing a man wearing stripes at the end of the hallway." I don't know if my mom wrote it off as my brother telling ghost stories to try and scare me, or if she was already half asleep and didn't catch it, but she didn't react to it at all. I, on the other hand, was terrified by it. The fear of seeing a ghost like that at the end of the hallway or through the window is the reason I started running from the stairs to my bedroom at night. Years later, I was about 18, my mom and I were having a conversation in a car about a dog we had for a very short time when I was little. We were sharing stories about Max's tendency towards destroying my shoes and other unruly behaviors when my mom blurted out, "Do you remember the time where I opened up the door for the cops and Max ran inside the kitchen and started tearing open the bag of dog food we had?" This caught me by surprise because in all those years I lived in that house, we never once called the cops. I asked her what she was talking about and she looked equally surprised as if she had just revealed something by accident. "Oh, that's right, I never told you because you were too young at the time. One night I woke up hearing noises outside my window and when I looked, I saw a man staring into my bedroom." She went on to describe how turning on the lights caused him to take off running and how she grabbed my dad's pistol before calling the cops. I can't remember all the details I gave them when they showed up. A tall white male wearing a striped shirt and jeans and short dark hair or something like that. They said it matched to the description of a man they were looking for in the area. It turns out he had escaped from jail on a murder charge. Now, I know it sounds so obvious hearing those 2 stories back to back, but it wasn't until a few years ago, in my mid-20s, that I pieced together that my brother had actually unknowingly warned us about the murderer who spent multiple nights casing our home. I was watching my daughter's kids while she and her husband got out of town. They have a teenage daughter, let's say her name is Alyssa. So, at like 3 AM, I'm woken up by a weird rustling sound and I look out the window to see movement. I saw a boy emerge from the bushes to the side of the house and I saw a bike tossed to the lawn that definitely wasn't ours. My first thought was that it was a burglar casing houses. But since he looked young and came through on a bike, I figured scaring him straight would be enough for him to decide to head home. I didn't want to ruin a teenager's life by calling the cops straight away. So I went out on the porch, flipped the lights on and said, "Can I help you?" in a classroom voice. The guy looked surprised but not nervous. He was wearing a Letterman style jacket, but once I got a clear view of him in the streetlights, he seemed much older than my granddaughter. Gruff and more wiry and athletic. He walked up closer to the house and said, "Yeah, I'm looking for Alyssa." I gave him a disapproving glare, hoping he'd realize he came looking for a girl late at night, and a grumpy old person answered, "It's time to split." I'm thinking what must have happened is Alyssa knew her parents were going out of town, and maybe before she knew I'd be staying over, she told her secret boyfriend to come over. It was late and I was alone with several kids, so I didn't want him coming any closer to the house. I also thought it was weird he came so late, and I wanted to be sure Alyssa actually wanted to talk to him. So I said, "I'm sorry, who?" He said, "Alyssa, you know, Alyssa," and then her last name. I thought he knew her full name, so they must at least be friends. I said, "You wait there." He started to walk up and I felt a sick burning in my gut. Instincts kicked in and I yelled, "No, stop, freeze." Then readjusted and said, "You stay right there. This is private property and don't take a step closer. Wait there." So I go in and Alyssa is asleep just one room over from where the rustling first occurred, and I wake her up and say something to the effect of, "I don't know what the big idea was to have friends over this time of night, but you can tell them to go home." She has no clue what I'm talking about. I say, "There's a guy outside asking for you." Confused, she gets up and goes to the window. She sees him and goes white as a sheet. "He asked for me?" "Yes." "By my name?" "Yes." "Call the police. I've never seen him in my life." I called 911 immediately, but as I was on the phone with him, Alyssa started tugging at my arm. "He's coming up." I had younger kids in the house to think about, so I kept the door latched and pulled it just open enough. I asked my husband and none of us know an Alyssa last name. "Leave my property or I'm calling 911. He got angry and started yelling her to come out. Thankfully, the police came pretty quickly, and when he heard the sirens, he grabbed the bike and ran off. I watched where he was running, and he jumped into the passenger side of a car without headlights or front plates and sped off. The police followed in the same direction I pointed them, but they didn't get him. They advised us to take all her social media details offline if she was sure she didn't know this person, and they said they had a couple similar reports recently and they were looking into it. I got a heavy-duty lock and she slept in my room for the remainder of my visit. So I think this happened when I was about 9 years old. I was playing in my front yard with my sister who's 13 and my friend who's 10, and we're all girls by the way. The sun was setting and our parents were all hanging out inside, not supervising us. A car pulled up to the curb and two adult women were sitting in the front. They rolled down the window and smiled at us and said that their dog was lost and asked if we could help them find it. My parents had never really taught me about stranger danger, and I started approaching the car, asking what it looked like. One of the women said she would pull up a photo of the dog if I would get closer. As I was getting closer, I realized that my sister and my friend were frozen, still standing in the same spot, not moving an inch. I was probably only 3 or 4 feet away from the car at this point. They whispered to me to come back to them, and I started to retreat, and at that point the car sped off. My sister called me an idiot and said we could have been kidnapped, but hey, inform your kids about stranger danger.